Welcome back, viewers. It's been a long road and a long time getting from our last recording to this one. But here we are. It's been a while, and we are back with another good, bad, and batshit. We know how popular those are. This time talking about the fairly new Section 31 movie. I'm Stu Jackson, and with me today,
Here's Craig Houston.
yeah, how are you doing, Craig?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much. And
Good, good, good.
it's been a very long time coming, this, because we were planning on doing something last year, but life and work and all that gets in the way.
Yes,
But good to see you, mate.
yes. Life finds a way, as Jeff Goldblum famously said. Finds a way of messing things up. It's the best laid plans.
Well, speaking of best laid plans and messing things up, this is exactly what happened to Section 31 because it was
Not
never
just a
meant
way.
to be a movie.
No, no, because it was originally going to be a series, and then they took the pilot of that series and turned it into a movie, um, which historically within the Star Trek franchise gets mixed reactions.
In thy image.
Yeah, so and this has definitely got mixed reactions.
Uh, to, to,
Before we say anything more though about Section 31, we do need to go to Red Alert because we will be discussing spoilers for the new Section 31 movie. So if you haven't watched it yet, pause this video, go and watch it, and I'll apologize now for that bit. Then come back and rewatch and see if you agree with our points or not. Or if you're not bothered about spoilers, just watch this first and decide if you want to watch it. Mm.
oh, that's a bit harsh already.
So, yeah, I think it's fair to say before we get into our selections for what was good, what was bad, and what was just batshit crazy, for it all, it's not been met with a great reception, with a lot of audience. Some people love it, and that's fair enough.
Yeah,
Uh,
as a watermark, when it first dropped on the Friday, I watched it straight away in the morning,
mm,
and I've subsequently rewatched it this weekend, but I rewatched it with Sarah, and I thought because she's not a great Star Trek fan, but she doesn't mind. She loves the reboot movies, loves the
right,
Chris Pine movies and stuff like that. So she's cool in the gang with that, and she hasn't minded some of the other like Discovery era stuff and things like that. She's not watched much of it, but just watched some. So I sat her down to watch that, and it's a case of like, what do you think? So coming into it kind of cold, and just no spoilers or anything like that. She couldn't get on board with the characters. And she just wasn't particularly interested in it. I mean, she loves a heist movie. She likes, your Guardians of the Galaxy and your sci-fi things and stuff like that. But she couldn't get on board with it. So that was a non-Trek fans just brief look at it. But
yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Now, again, before we get into, just so that I think for anyone who's perhaps less familiar with our opinions on the various Star Trek franchises, um, what would you say are your top three either series or standalone movies within the franchise?
well, I'm a big fan of the original movies. Similar to you. I mean, I knew Star Trek the series growing up in the 70s, watching it on BBC. Um, and then Star Trek the motion picture came out, which I didn't see at the cinema. I didn't see that until it was on home video. So Star Trek's 1, 2, and 3 I saw on home video as soon as they came out on rental. And Star Trek 4 was my first one at the cinema. Whereas Star Wars, I was at the cinema, weekends of opening. Um, but to me, the original films and into the next generation, which obviously very, very rocky start. Deep Space Nine is my big love.
Mm,
And as it was from when it first came out, it just a lot of people say it was darker, but it it got the essence of what Star Trek was and just told the stories in a different way. And I loved it. Uh, Voyager, I've never been a great fan of, but I didn't mind it, and I really enjoyed Enterprise for all its flaws.
mm,
So, the Berman era of Star Trek is essentially like our growing up era. In what teens and into what early adulthood. Um, so my biggest loves are the original movies and Deep Space Nine. The rest of the stuff, there's no Star Trek I don't like. I mean, I'm getting I seem to be enjoying Discovery a bit more, especially the first three seasons, um, on a storytelling level, not on necessarily an aesthetic level,
mm.
but it is growing to me more. And I do love Strange New Worlds, and I enjoy Lower Decks. Um, and I am, for me sins, looking forward to Academy. But I know, I
Absolutely.
know that I know you're similar to me, where the original series films
Mm.
is what really lit your fire.
Yeah, well, the motion picture in particular, for my sixth birthday, I was taken to see it, and it just absolutely blew my mind. I mean, yeah, our tastes, I think, are very similar in that regard. I know there are differences in our tastes, like, um, for example, you quite enjoy Star Trek Five, um, whereas I see it as a steaming pile of movie. But also, like you, I think there's no such thing as bad Trek. Any Trek is good Trek in the sense that you get different types of Trek for different audiences.
Oh yeah,
Infinite diversity and infinite combinations and all that. And yes, Discovery has like got a very, very different flavor to, Next Generation or Deep Space Nine. But that's great. That's going to draw in more audiences and, expand the fan base and, you know, so I'm very much on board with things like I absolutely love Discovery. I loved it when it came out. Um, Voyager, I wasn't overly keen on, and I'm still not to this day. I don't dislike it. It's okay. My favorite used to be DS9. It's now got to be Lower Decks, though. Definitely a Lower Decks fan.
I don't mind Lower Decks, but Deep
Oh,
Space Nine's just where it's at for me.
you don't mind it. Oh, we're gonna have an argument.
It's
No, we're
no,
not.
it's entertaining enough. I know it was a bit of a culture shock watching the first season of it, getting to settle down. I think it peaked in season four. I think season four was its best season,
Hmm.
and I did enjoy season five. But I think the penultimate episode of season five is probably its best episode.
I wouldn't dispute that. I'd have to give that some serious thought as to which I think is the best. But yeah, I wouldn't argue that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Um, and Strange New Worlds, absolutely loving Strange New Worlds.
Oh yeah, I mean it's got a great cast,
Mm.
and it's got some brave storytelling.
Mm. I'm just as an aside before we will get into section 31, I promise you, audience. But just as an aside on Strange New Worlds, I was really nervous about the idea of a musical episode. Really, like that's not Star Trek. Now it's one of my favorites.
I think it's entertaining. The only thing that for me where it properly does jump the shark bit is the Klingon, the K-pop. Other than that, I think if they'd done a different genre, I mean something like Klingon opera, something like that, where that would have been a punch in the that would have been a fan service punch in the air moment where you
Yes.
actually got to see Klingon opera because Worf was a big fan of Klingon opera and stuff like that. And everyone would have gone, "Yep, you've nailed it."
I agree with you on that. However, it was fantastic to see them bringing Bruce Horak back because he played the captain, of course. having played Hemmer. Yeah, so it
At
was.
least they did. At least they
I thought
didn't
that
do.
was a
At least they
nice
didn't
small
do
touch.
Hammer time. Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh, there's
first shit
reference to
Jonesy
that
did.
song in
Don't
Deep Space
forget.
Nine, in Explorers. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Yeah, there you go.
There was an improvised bit where Jake and Cisco are on the Bajoran Solar Sailor, and he winds a
Doing the
hammock
rigging.
up,
Yeah.
and I can't remember which one of it is. It goes, "Ooh, hammock time."
Hammock time. Yo.
Then it goes, "Yo." Yeah, quite funny. Anyway, right. So, Station 31, good, bad, and batshit. Um, do you have anything for what was good about it?
Well, is it worth doing a bit of the history of it, of the leading up to it on that?
Absolutely worth. Well, I mean, you mentioned that it was originally due to
Yeah,
be.
because it was originally was it 2019, start 2019. It was commissioned as a season, as a series, but it was actually commissioned for 2 seasons, not just 1 season, because they were going to do the typical things, what they're doing with Star Trek Academy, where it's they had to budget in such a way to make it feasible for the sets and for everything like that, for the scale that they were going to do it, to make it over 2 seasons. So you could just partition your budget over. It makes sense to do like that. But COVID hit and everything hit the fan, didn't it? Everybody was off. So, and then they've been trying to work it to get it back into production since. So, I mean, you had things like Ash Tyler was going to be coming over from Discovery, and
Yeah.
he was actually going to be the lead with Michelle Yeoh. So that you can see straight away with the casting in Section 31, who is the main actor with Michelle Yeoh. It was never going to be him.
Mm.
And the story of Section 31 that we've got isn't just the pilot episode, it's the whole first season condensed into an hour and a half.
Mm.
So this is where you can find where the story jumps a lot.
Yeah.
And there was going to be a lot more, character development and things that way on.
Huh. It was quite hard to connect with the characters, even the established character,
Yeah.
Philippa
I mean
Georgiou.
yeah, I mean if you look at the way that they did the characters, so you've got, I mean, this is the thing, is actually trying to remember all the character names because they didn't exactly jump out at you.
Uh, well, you had,
So well, Michelle, you obviously playing Emperor Philippa Giorgio.
yeah,
We'll shall discuss
yes, we will.
that's going on. Alok being the main head of their group in Section 31.
Yeah, Maury
Um,
Hardwick.
and again, they have somebody who is shoehorned in
Mm.
as an augment from
Yes.
20th century Earth. And for a start, is he a Superman? Is he have any kind of ultra intelligent powers, or is he super strong? Is he anything like that? So there's no kind of indication of him being
Mm.
anything other than just like the leader of the group.
Yeah, he
Um,
refers to being so
so
he
asleep.
says he was a normal human and then was captured by the augment leader, Jiri, I think, if I'm remembering that correctly. Who then turned him into an augment.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and
whether what was augmented is a little bit vague. He does talk about being
yeah,
stronger or more powerful or something,
yeah.
but
So the question is that did that character exist in the original series treatment? but not as the leader of their group of Section 31, because obviously you had Ash Taylor, who was, Klingon. So that raises questions. You had Quasi, who is a chameleoid,
Hmm.
and great great actor, and I like the idea of having a non-changeling shapeshifter.
Yeah.
Not back to Star Trek 6. I can get them to do, but they didn't use him in any particular form apart from as a joke,
Yeah.
as a gag for changing. So it was never particularly used as part of the story where you needed a chameleoid to actually
Mm.
provide a function. Now,
Yeah, it was
as a spy
going to have
story,
been used in the plan that was abandoned.
yeah,
And there was one bit in the tunnel sequence where he turns into this weird octopus starfish thing to save one of the crew members who falls off.
falling, yeah,
But apart from absolutely underutilized,
yeah,
an underutilized ability.
yeah.
Mm,
Um, then you had Zeph, who was the mech guy
yeah.
playing the muscle. Bit of comedy value, but I think the mech suit was too overstated. It should have been a bit more subtle. Not looking exactly Borg-like or something, but if you're part of Section 31, a fairly spy-ish kind of undercover-ish
Mm,
thing, and yes, he's the muscle, but you don't want somebody who like stands out like a sore thumb.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I got. I mean, I got in a few places. I almost got like Warhammer, power
Yeah,
armor sort of
yeah,
vibes
yeah. Yeah, I was thinking
on it.
Star Trek 40,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you've got Rachel Garrett.
Yes.
Now, this is something that I think screws the whole pooch.
Should
And
we
this
save
is
that
where,
for a bit in the bad section then?
well, but this is, I don't even think this is just part of the bad section. This is just something where I just want to throw something out here,
Okay.
because I don't, Rachel Garrett was never ever going to be part of the original Section 31,
Right.
because she couldn't have been, because it was going to be set disco era
Well,
with
if Ash Tyler
Ash
was going to be
Tyler.
in it,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So why is Section 31 placed in, was it 20, 23, 24, whatever it is?
I did
Yeah, yeah,
calculations.
yeah,
Bear with me. So it was Stardate 129.4, which made it the 17th of April 2324 at
yeah. So
26 minutes past midnight.
yeah. So she was never going to be part of it. So that character has only just been shoehorned in as almost fan service.
Yeah, she'd have been born. I think I was able to work this out from multiple sources, but she must have been born around about 2300 ish,
Yeah,
which makes her very young in Section 31 at
yeah,
24.
yeah. So
But
fresh out
that
of the
might be
academy
five
for,
years out. So
yeah. But realistically, Section 31 was going to be set around about 30 years before that. It was set. It was going to be set, with Giorgio going back in time from the 31st century, she was going to be deposited back
in
around
that
about
time, well, that was
the
65 years prior,
yeah,
2259. So that, yeah, it would have been 40 years before
yeah.
Rachel
So
Garrett was
so she
born.
would not she was never part of the original plan for it.
Right.
And this is one of the things where they've only placed it in the time period that they've placed it, because they've put that character in.
Right. Right. Okay.
Uh,
Do you think they would have put Rachel Garrett in had she not been referenced in Picard?
I don't think Rachel Garrett would have been in it full stop. The character would not have been part of Section 31.
No, I mean when
Yeah.
they've decided like, oh, we need to put someone in at the last minute or whatever. Do you think they picked Rachel Garrett because of her reference in Picard?
Quite possibly. Or they've tried to do a fan service to link it to Star Trek somehow
Mm,
without doing anything like that. But character wise, yes, she's the only one who was trying to be Starfleet in the whole thing.
yeah.
So I understand why the character exists, but did it have to be Rachel Garrett?
Mm.
It made absolutely no difference at all. And then you got Fuzz.
Sven Roygruck.
I think the idea of the character is intriguing. It's they've reached to do something different. Clumsy
Yes.
execution of it, but hats off to them to trying something different.
The yeah,
And
I'm going to hold my counsel on that character
yeah,
for both good and bad
yeah.
sections.
So
Yeah.
there we go there. And who've we got next?
Worth
Mel,
mentioning Mel, even though she didn't last very long, and
which
I thought that was
she
criminal.
she could have by far been the best character
Yeah.
in that. I think the idea of having a Delton in an undercover team candidate for Honey Trap and it just and then it was criminal that she was first to go in absolutely no time and he didn't get a chance to know, and I think that is just criminal.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we're on the same page with that. You
Absolutely
had
criminal.
San,
Yeah. Now,
Yuki Liao,
so
pronouncing that correctly.
we'll discuss a bit the story there, where it starts off in the mirror universe, back in the day, and I was half expecting to see Jennifer Lawrence as one of the other competitors in the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
That would it
Yeah.
would it,
Um,
So I, if that's the way that you're going to choose an emperor, fair enough. Something different, not exactly not exactly how you would have thought they would have done, but fair play that they're trying a different idea.
it was nice to see a bit of the sort of the mirror universe, but from a normal family sort of point of view, as brief as that glimpse and as narrow
Yeah,
as that
yeah.
glimpse
I mean,
was.
it's the whole thing with the mirror universe. It's a little bit like what people talk about with the Klingon Empire. You've got to have civilians. You've got to have people
Yeah,
who live a normal life.
yeah,
You've got to. Not every single person's gonna be like mustache twirling bad guy.
mm,
You're
yeah,
gonna have normal people. You're gonna have it's just the way it is. It's like say with the Klingon Empire. Not every single person is a Klingon warrior. Just
exactly.
society, it wouldn't happen. So yeah,
Not all
the
the Ryans are pirates.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and I think yeah, they've got a different way of choosing a leader. Otherwise, every 2 or 3 years, somebody's gonna be bumping somebody else off. There's got to have some kind of way of. I mean, how long did
Odd way of
Empress
doing
Hoshi
it,
Sato
but
last?
yeah. Um, yeah, and San was her both love interest and um competitor. No, that's not the word.
Yeah,
Competition.
yeah, yeah. So you could
Rival.
understand that he didn't have the heart to kill his family, but she went ahead and did it.
Mm,
And this is again one of the issues that you actually have with Emperor Giorgio in general, is that how much character development has there been considered? How much the character went through in Discovery, to be a genocidal, emperor of a space empire that crushes and kills millions without even thinking. Their redemption arc has to be big.
mm,
It has to be something huge, and they have to really show that they've changed, and they really have to sacrifice their life to make up for everything that they've done, not just casually take the mickey and think, oh, I'm just going to murder you as a joke kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's not Star Trek.
No. I
In fact,
mean,
that's not even general drama.
I mean, it's certainly not Starfleet. I think a lot of times when I see people online go, "Oh, that's not Star Trek," what they mean is that's not Starfleet.
Yes.
The Star Trek universe is much wider, but I agree with you. It isn't even Star Trek. It's not.
Yeah.
It's yeah. It's the
See
wrong kind of
the
humor
character.
for Star Trek. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't get us wrong. Michelle Yeoh's great, and the character could be one of the most interesting characters of Star Trek. Did it
Mm,
as long as and yes, you can have some of the one-liners, you can have the glib stuff, but it's got to have something bigger to it
yeah.
because you're a mass murderer and you've got to. I mean, yes, spoiler alert, she was prepared to sacrifice herself, for the MacGuffin at the end and didn't have to, but the stuff you've got to see the character grow. And if it had been a series,
Mm,
would it have been played that way?
yeah. We might have had opportunity to see that hero's journey, that
Yeah,
growth, that
yeah.
change.
So I mean, shit. So when in her time through as the Emperor, creating the MacGuffin, which turns out to be something from her past,
Mm,
um, a galaxy kind of, well, a sector destroying artifact, which as a doomsday device, as somebody who was frightened to lose that empire to do it.
mm,
Yes, you can see like it's essentially a version of an atom bomb where if we can't have it, nobody can have it, kind of thing.
yeah.
And there's so much potential actually in this story that was wasted.
Mm,
But
yeah.
so as if we want to go through further with the story, how it jumps to present day. She's hiding out and she's been hiding out for we don't know how long in this casino space station that she's acquired.
Mm.
And Section 31 turn up to try and enlist her help, and it all starts to hit the fan there.
Yes, because this object comes on board, the attempt to get it back goes horribly, horribly wrong and is very messy, and I have issues with that whole the way that happened. And like you said, Section 31 turn up this discreet secret thing and instantly standing out a mile, all of them. Not just the guy in the mech suit, but
Yeah.
every single one of them stands out, except for Alok. He's the only one I think who could have flown under the radar with it. Um, yeah, yeah. So they failed to get the MacGuffin. They chase after the MacGuffin. They get stranded. Find out there's a mole, um, a traitor in their midst. Do the trope of they think they found out who the traitor is. Oh no, the traitor was somebody else.
And let's have a kind of another chase scene in, and lots of fighting scenes that last a little bit too long.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I definitely felt that.
And then you
Um,
you get they lose their ship straight away, and then there's the let's say the obligatory chase scene to try and stop the MacGuffin from MacGuffining it,
yeah. So in order to get the MacGuffin, they MacGyver another ship.
which I think was actually quite good.
Uh, but we'll come on to that.
And then they have a final showdown, more death and destruction,
Mm,
and the MacGuffin is going to obliterate the universe or the section of the universe that they're in, and they manage to stop it just at
yes.
the very last moment, as usual.
And in doing so, close down a very convenient portal between the mirror universe and the prime universe. It's
Without necessarily destroying half a quadrant.
without, yeah, apparently, I don't know that. Well, did it destroy half the quadrant in the Mirror Universe?
Nobody said.
Well, with that summary, I think
Really
that's
bad explanation of the plot.
I think it's a fantastic place for us to give ourselves and our viewers a very short commercial break, and we'll be right back with our good, bad, and batshit selections thereafter.
Buy this stuff.
Welcome to Planet Marzipan Podcast.
World of heroes, villains. 6 British actors will come together to play Pathfinder. It's sort of like D&D, but also really not like D&D. Join Falter.
I immediately regret this decision!
Caragor.
Oh, I see you, Kenneth.
Velda.
Behold my arcane powers!
Shania.
Yes, I've cracked the case!
M.
No, kidding.
And the Dungeon Master for an actual play podcast that takes adventure seriously. Available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and from Dangerclubpodcast.com. Danger Club, let's roll. God, doing that voice hurts.
And welcome back. As see, when you get to being gentlemen of a certain age, like ourselves, you can't sit too long without needing to refresh your Ractagino and give yourself a gladder bladder. So we've recapped the movie in general. I think it's fair to say most people are going to have seen it at this point that are watching it. So sorry we made you relive that bit. But on the positive note, Craig, what did you think was good?
First thing is that it actually exists. That they made it. No matter, for all its flaws, and no matter what we actually kind of think of it, that Paramount have stumped up the money and actually made it. So that at least they've got still confidence in Star Trek. I think it's also good that if you've been keeping an eye on what's happening, it actually stayed at #1 in the charts on Paramount Plus for nearly 2 weeks. It was only knocked off by a rom-com the other day. I can't remember the name of it offhand. So in their film charts, it actually stayed #1 for nearly 2 weeks. So at least, even if they're looking at the metrics, even if the fans hate it, if people have been watching it, even if they hated it, they've had eyes on it.
Yeah.
So it gives you hope that they will do something else. Be it a Lower Decks movie, animated movie, or even if they were brave enough to try and do a live action version of it, be it something like Star Trek Legacy. It shows that there is potential, even though it's a bit of a train wreck for how it was put together. They hopefully got confidence in actually moving forward, because we're about to get into a point where, pardon me, we're going to have possibly the least amount of Star Trek being released in the next year or so, because once you've got 10 episodes of the new season of Strange New Worlds out, you're going to be waiting until at least this time next year for the first season of Academy.
Yeah.
Yes, they're making two seasons back to back, and yes, there's going to be season 4 of Strange New Worlds, but you're only going to have a maximum of 20 episodes of Star Trek in 1 year for the next 2 years, without anything else on the horizon, and without any confirmation of any new theatrical movie.
Yeah.
So that it exists is a big thing. I think Michelle Yeoh is great in it.
Okay.
I love the character of Quasi. I love the Delton character. I thought, you know, they had a decent budget, whether they used it very well or not. You know, I was, I'm just happy that it exists.
Yeah,
Happy that it exists.
I think that's a brilliant point. And sort of to back that up a bit, as much as I think it's fair to say it didn't appeal to you or I, there are a huge number of people that it really did appeal to.
Yeah,
Some of those
yeah,
will be new to the franchise, and that's fantastic. That's bringing in new fans. It's bringing in a younger audience, because let's face it, we're dying off. Those older ones.
yeah. I mean, as a franchise, I mean, you look at the state of Paramount at the minute. You know, with the deal with Skydance going through. Yes, it's not quite the situation that happened with MGM, pretty much going bust and then being bought out with Amazon, and they're still not right. You know, they're
Mm,
still not producing to the level that they should be. Um, Paramount is in the thing now where they're about with the Skydance thing is probably all of the lots will end up getting sold off and will be used as real estate, you know, because the amount of stuff that's actually getting filmed in Los Angeles now is just minimal. Everything's
yeah.
scattered to the four winds. I mean, Star Trek was always filmed in LA. I mean, the last lot I was filmed in LA was Picard,
Mm,
and that was a one-off because everything else is up in Canada.
yeah, yeah, in Ontario. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah,
Mm. Well, that's good. So it exists. You liked Michelle Yeoh, you liked Quasi, you liked Mel.
yeah.
Have we exhausted your list?
That's. I think the story itself, if it had been um, a bit more Star Trek, I think the story itself is generally sound as a typical heist kind of movie. You've got a MacGuffin that's going to do, you know, it's almost like a bit like Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, where you're trying to
Yeah.
you've got a MacGuffin that's going to cause, you know, a lot of damage and kill millions of people, and it's something from somebody's past. You know, if you strip it back, if you strip it back and go to the basics, this could have been brilliant if it had been handled right.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it had been handled right, you know, if they'd thought about it, didn't just, you know, hodgepodge the bits of different episodes together, didn't be try to be too clever with the characters and try to, because if you're stuck with characters for the maximum of an hour and a half rather than over 10 hours, don't make it too clever.
Mm.
You've got to be a bit more functional with it. And the Giorgio thing, yes, the good MacGuffin, it would have made sense if everything had been in the similar timeline to when she left the Mirror Universe,
Mm.
rather than it being such a long period. Like, you know, how old was her lover technically by the time you get into this? Because he must have been over 100.
I'm going to be going into that into some detail.
Yeah.
But
So,
spoiler alert, that's in the bad section for me.
yeah. But let's say it could have been brilliant.
Yeah.
If it just been, you know, somebody like Nicholas Meyer, you know, he came and looked at a fresh look at Star Trek 2,
Mm.
and he had, was it 3 different scripts to work from in less than 2 weeks to pull it all together, but
Mm.
he knew what he was doing. Didn't know Star Trek, but then he moved it forward
Yeah.
and made a story that actually made sense and had people caring about. Yes, you already knew the characters and stuff, but with this, you could do something similar. But anyway, what did you like? Come
Um,
on.
so I liked, I've made a list.
Come on.
Like yourself, I liked Quasi. I liked Mel. Uh, I liked the Nanakin concept.
Yes, concept was great.
Yeah,
Execution.
We'll come back to in a future section. I liked, and I know you referred to this before the break. Alok, and I liked the idea of seeing someone from the eugenics ward, someone who is enhanced, but not Khan adjacent.
Yeah, yeah.
So it shows that it's a much larger world. That whole eugenics wars thing that went on, it was a much, much bigger thing, and affects a lot more people. So the fact that he exists with that backstory, I think, is really good. Almost a bit character, but Virgil, the Sharonian.
Yeah. Now, how was he there? Because if the planet from Let This Be Your Last Battlefield was wiped out and you only had two people left who were then continuing their war because you couldn't stop them, then 60 years later.
Well, it's not unreasonable to think that someone had left the planet prior to that.
Yeah. His parents could have escaped it a long time back.
So
I think that was just. I think that was. I was. Yeah, I think that was just. Pardon me, just done for set dressing rather than for any.
Oh, it was. But
reason.
To me, that was a really nice nod, and
a deep dive.
The character be sort of more of a sort of they them character rather than a he she. I thought that was a really nice touch for a Sharonian. It's special in the current climate we're in, with all of the things that's happening in America, which we don't want to talk about. But so I thought
we can put the stuff that's happening in America now into the batch shit section if you want.
Oh, it's been said many, many times. It's a shame you can't parody politics anymore.
Not anymore, no.
Yeah. And the biggest one for me was the fact it was set in the Lost Era. Now, I think that's a double-edged sword. I think it's great to sort of have some of that start to be fleshed out a bit, but it's a well that you can't draw from too many times because it needs to remain a bit of a mystery as an era. I think, for decent storytelling moving forward.
I think
to get a glimpse, I think is great.
Well, yeah, if you actually got a glimpse, what would have been nice, and we'll put this in the coulda, woulda, shoulda section. If you were actually going to ground it, I mean, yes, as a nice cameo from Jamie Lee Curtis as Control. Fair enough. I get that, get a bit of a star name in because obviously she's worked with Michelle Yeoh on Everything All at Once. But to ground it in the Lost Era, it would have been nice to take it out and actually have some legacy character, be it Sulu, Chekhov, or something like that, to be the one who assigns Section 31 from that era there. So you actually see a Federation starship. You actually see somebody in uniform. So you actually get a sense of when it is, because with it being in, I mean, technically, if the location, if they'd had any kind of little bit of knowledge of the thing, the sections that they did on the star chart, putting a lot of places in was really, really good. They could have scored an absolute blinder if they'd put it in what you call the triangle area of space, which you've got between the Klingon Empire, the Romulan Star Empire, and the Federation. You've got the triangle area where all the borders meet. Yeah. So it would be great if that's where the Terrans were going to come through, and that's where they were going to set off their device, because where they're going to do most damage, where would they actually be able to screw over the entire Alpha and Beta quadrant, would be in that area space there. You decimate half the Romulan Empire, half the Klingon Empire, half the Federation. You come in, you take over. So then you have somebody like Sulu or Chekhov. I know it to be like just you know, casting for the sake of casting and a big fan service, but it would have grounded it in the time, and it would have grounded it with how much damage this thing would have done if it was going to go off.
Yes, and maybe there was ideas for a legacy character to have a cameo at some point. But in a way, isn't Rachel Garrett a legacy character?
She is,
Sort of.
but she was never seen in era-specific Starfleet uniform. There was
No.
nothing to ground the timing of, as a fan, you would have as that reference. So you had nothing, because of the area that they set it in, which I understand, was, you know, outside Federation space, but you had nothing to say this is Star Trek and this is in the start of the 24th century.
I think, to be honest, I think in many ways they were quite vague about the year, or when it was set. I think deliberately, to give themselves a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah.
You know, it's only real geeks like me who actually like note down the star date and the conversion. I mean, how many people would know that it was 26 minutes past midnight? But I can see why they would want to leave that vague and fairly open, like especially because like some of the technologies. In fact, I'll a sneak preview from my bad list. Transporters operated far too quickly. It was like, and they're done. I mean, that doesn't happen in Lower Decks era. You know, they're not that fast. So, issues around that. But, so I think keeping the era vague, but obviously it falls in between TOS and TNG. I don't know. I don't think that was a bad thing in itself. But I get what you're saying. It's not like you didn't get to see any Starfleet uniforms or anything like that. No, but it's not a Starfleet movie. It's a Section 31 movie. And Section 31 are not Starfleet.
Tenuous. But if the way that Discovery's portraying Section 31, they are just normal Starfleet, that aren't as secretive as they were, and the fact that they've got their own badge and everybody knows who Section 31 are in the Discovery period. Yes, so it may have gone a bit more underground after everything with Control at the end of season 2 in Discovery.
That's
And
I think we can assume.
in Next Generation, Section 31 weren't really discussed until DS9. Yes, there was episodes of Next Generation, things like Pegasus and all the rest of it, which you can retrofit into Section 31. You can retcon into that. So there's lots of things where you can retcon Section 31 into it. But again, it was undercover.
Yeah, DS9, nobody's heard of Section 31. And I think, to be honest, I think Discovery handled it badly. Section 31 in general. And I think this movie handles Section 31 very, very badly. But, yeah, because I'm a huge Section 31 fan. Have been since it first came in, with Luther, Sloan on Deep Space Nine.
But the concept of needing a Section 31, needing like a secret branch, needing stuff like that, you can understand it. You can justify it.
Yeah. Every great I think Garrick says this. Is it Garrick who says it? But every great power has, you've got the Obsidian Order, you've got, the Tal Shiar, every great power has their secret service. It's just that Starfleet is a lot more secret.
Yeah, but imagine what could have elevated this is if, again, coulda, woulda, shouldas, you set it in the time period that you've got now, you set it in the area between the Klingon Empire, the Romulan Empire, and the Federation, still outside, because of three-dimensional space and all of that.
Yeah.
You set it in that location there. What would have been the odds on top if the Klingons had been after this device and the Tal Shiar had been after this device? with Section 31. Imagine how good that could have been, where you're upping the odds, where these people are having to go against other secret services.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the idea of it. And maybe if it had been a series, we might have even
But
had
they wouldn't have done that because it's not the way they think.
It's also what Discovery did a lot in its last season as well. So it's kind of been done as well, but yeah. Anyway, that sums up what we thought was good about it. in so in,
Now you're
in three
fun, Todd.
sentences or less. And what stood out? I mean, I think we can do a whole lengthy video.
We can do a
What
whole
was
thing.
bad.
Just to say that it was a mess. It didn't hold together. It wasn't cohesive. For the amount of money that they spent, I think the production design was a bit woeful. It continued Discovery's constant use of like yellow tinge. It looked like a Discovery aesthetic of that they've used for youngs. And it's like if you're in a different area of space, you're in a different, you've got a space casino and things like that. Everything looked yellow from the space station to the planet with all the fire and with the stuff like that to the Mirror Universe ship. It all had the same color palette. There was no differentiation that much between everywhere. The garbage scow was all the same color scheme. And it just didn't feel very start of 24th century. It was very flat. They say the story was a mess of something just cobbled together. Some of the characters weren't great. Some of them were brilliant. And they were underdeveloped, and even an hour and 30 running time, if they wanted to flesh the characters out, you could have done an extra 10 or 15 or 20 minutes of character stuff, so you actually got to know these people better and you got to know what their expertise were actually in, and show them doing it. But go for it.
So we mentioned this a little bit earlier, so I'll start with this bit. Sans age. So when we get the flashback, the original start, they're supposed to be about the same age.
The same age, about 18 or so. Yeah.
So he should be 65 years older than her.
Yes.
Now Michelle Yeoh is 61 years old. The guy that cast as San is 49 years old. So there's an age difference, but it's the wrong direction. I can get if there was this particular passage causes some sort of time dilation effect, or if they'd have given
there's no explanation in this thing.
Explanation.
But where was the explanations for anything else? A lot of stuff, it just happens.
Yeah. So that annoyed me and it brought me out of it. You mentioned about how much you like. I love Michelle Yeoh. Love her. She's an amazing actor. She just phoned this in though. She was awful in this. There was no real acting from her.
But I think that was more down to the script.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to come on to the script as well.
I think that was more down to the script. I think she was very much wanting to do it. She loves being part of Star Trek. She loves being, in there with this. And I think this was partly a passion project for her that she did not want to lose out from. I don't think she necessarily... do you think she actually saw how not great it was in production of it? Do you think she was just having too much of a good time?
I don't know. I mean, you're absolutely right. The whole concept of Section 31 came from a suggestion from her when she was I think it was the first or second
season 1
of Discovery.
No, season one.
You need a series with Philippa Georgia, and so I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it was the short schedules, lack of decent direction, because the direction in the whole thing just didn't.
Flat.
Yeah, I didn't gel with. I don't know if it was any of that. Certainly the script played a big part in that. But everything was just too casual. There was no like. So I'm coming at this as an actor, anywhere near as good as Michelle Yeoh, but I can tell the difference between someone who is really putting the effort in with the character and someone who's just like turning up and just saying the lines. And that's really what it felt like with her. She just turned up, said the lines. And the scheduling can play a huge part of that. Now, interestingly enough, one of the standout performers for me, although the character was one-dimensional, was Robert Kaczynski. I thought his performance with Zeph was fantastic. Now,
he's a big Star Trek fan, though. He's a big Star Trek fan. But he's a big Star Trek fan as well.
Soap. He gets his script literally that morning, has to go out, perform it. You get one take, that's it. So he is used to that. That is his life, day to day.
Yeah.
So he can act like that. And he shone as a result. Someone like Michelle Yeoh, no, it's like, you get 20 takes to do it. And, you'll get discussions with the director in between each take. And so literally, on a movie, you shoot maybe 1.5 pages a day. That's standard. On a TV series, and in particular on a soap opera, you might shoot 7 or 8 pages in a day.
Yeah,
I think they shot it like that. They must have been shooting 7 or 8 pages a day easily.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's what Michelle Yeoh is used to. In terms of that, and I think it really affected her performance. I'm totally speculating as to the reason. Maybe she was just pissed off with the way it turned out. Who knows? But yeah, I was really disappointed with her performance. I love her. I also felt as the character of Giorgio totally nerfed. Totally nerfed. That wasn't the Emperor.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem. As I said earlier on, with the character of Emperor Giorgio, it's a very, very difficult character to actually get right. I mean, she might love playing it, but in Star Trek, it's like, it's like having somebody like who's worse than Khan as your hero.
Yeah.
She's done stuff. And
she's Space Hitler,
Yeah.
Oh, worse than Space Hitler.
Yeah. I mean, yes, she's had quite a big redemption arc in Discovery, especially by the time she was going back home into her own time. But then it seems to have just been like, oh, I've hit the reset. I'm back to being wisecracking.
Yeah.
And there should have been, I think, a performance should have been tempered in how the character has changed and grown, and especially if she's been hiding on her space station for X number of years, because we don't know what time she went back to. How long she's actually been back. And again, could that have been developed in the series, or is it typical Discovery writing where we'll just, there's not the care being taken to make a lot of sense. And I think there's a lot of shows like that now where they're not paying as much attention to the characters and to the history of the characters. Not just talk about Star Trek canon, talking about like a character that you have developed over a number of years and how they grow.
Well, that's where the actor themselves should be having a lot of input and a lot of say. Because they know the character inside and out.
Yeah.
And when we left Giorgio on Discovery, when those last scenes with the Guardian of Forever, which how good was that? But anyway, when she was like very guarded with her emotions, and if anyone was getting close to those emotions, she would get aggressive and fight back, and like a cornered animal. And that's who Giorgio was to me. And yeah, we got none of that at all.
But with this, with the story of this, with this being her fault, essentially, her creation eventually, it should have been a character arc to pretty much destroy her to build her back up again.
Yeah. Yeah.
She should have been down at a very, very lowest to get to the redemption point of preparing to sacrifice herself to save the galaxy and to get herself back like that and to essentially be reborn.
There's a very telling line that I'm certain came from when it was a series. I don't think many lines made it, but this particular one did strike me as probably being like that, where she says along the lines of like, the godsend is me.
Yeah.
There is no failsafe. You can't defeat me. Yeah, and she's like giving up basically at that point. I think, yeah, that's probably where, taken from the series, where you would have had that then she has to stop being herself in order to beat it. So yeah, but we lost all that.
But again, this is what I say, that this could have had the potential to be something really special if it had been handled right.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is I'm not gonna say crap on it from a great height just to say, oh, it was awful, or was this, it had potential, it has potential, but it's just not been in the right hands.
No, I agree. So what else did I have? Oh, the dialogue. Yeah. So coming onto the script, the dialogue, the note I've written myself here, because I wrote it as I was rewatching it yesterday. The dialogue is like a British farce. I'm thinking like "Run for Your Wife" or some Ray Cooney.
So you're expecting in the hotel to open a door and there's a vicar in its dog collar with his trousers down or something like that.
Exactly that. And the bit that made me write that was when they're at the space casino, and they've told that Section 31 have told the plan to Giorgio, and she goes, "Meh," and everyone like simultaneously goes, "Meh." I mean, like that could literally be taken off the stage in a Ray Cooney fart. That was like, my eyes could not have rolled any harder.
I'm waiting for you to complain about the phase shifting gizmo as well, where see again a line of dialogue, because Star Trek, they always do this. You can walk through walls, but you're not going to fall through this. You're not going to fall through the floor. So all you've got to do, all you've got to say is that the inertial dampeners counteract the effect, so you will not fall through the floor. You can go through, but because of the inertial dampeners and because of things like that, you stay level. You could use just something like that, a line of dial or something like that fixes it. But
something in the materials used for the flooring, or and I was going to, and yeah, the falling through the floor was one thing. Also, the thing that they've done phasing before with the Next Generation, in particular, the episode with Rolaren and Geordie. I can't remember the name of the episode now.
Next phase, is it?
The next phase, yeah, brilliant. And when you go out of phase, you become invisible. But I thought, maybe they're just ever so slightly out of phase. Maybe it's not, So I don't know. I can forgive it a little bit, that particular,
because it's a trope, isn't it? We're used to it.
But my last one is a very nitpicky one. Is the scene when they're in the tunnel and they're on this hovercar, this Fantastic Four. Flying car thing, and It's going along at incredible, amazing speeds, like we're virtually breaking the sound barrier here as they're stood on this thing and nobody's hair's flying about.
Yeah.
Now, it's odd that I should notice that of all people, but
I mean, come on, how many times do you see in certain TV series, especially if they're on an ice planet and you never see somebody's breath? It's that kind of thing, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or if they're supposedly in a hot desert and nobody's sweating.
yeah. But for, as you said earlier, he's got a decent budget. You know, there should be people watching these. There are people paid a lot of money to look for that sort of thing and point it out.
But do you not think it's a thing with a lot of modern Star Trek where you haven't got what in the Berman era you would call like the attention to detail? You haven't got somebody there. You know, you look at Discovery and you look at like the internal works of Discovery, where it's a tiny little ship, but you've got turbo shafts going all over the place, and it's massive. You look at the Enterprise engineering deck in Strange New Worlds; it would never fit in the idea of what they've got of that expanded set.
Yeah,
Stuff like that would never have happened in the Berman era because you've got like Rick Okuda and everybody and Rick Stern back, and you've got all those guys who would say, no, it's got to fit. Everything has its time and its place, and it's got, you know, it's got to work from the inside out, and it's just attention to detail.
absolutely. But I mean, something as basic as that, it doesn't even need like the technical genius of a Michael Okuda.
I mean, come on, even common sense. Look at the very end of section 31, where the casino kind of compacts up a bit and then goes into warp. Well, I'm sure the guests like the fact that they've just got the warp and their ship's just like 5 sectors behind because they've just buggered off. Can you imagine? You're going down the motorway and you're trying to catch up with your travel lodge that's just pissed off.
Oh, dear.
See that bit? It's just come on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I did say that was my last one, but it's not really, because and you know what? This next one has been talked about to death, so I don't plan for us to dwell on it, although we might end up anyway. Is Fuzz and everyone being after his Lucky Charms.
To be sure. How offensive. I mean, I'm not being I do a crap Irish accent myself and not be funny, but just really a laughing Vulcan with an Irish accent is not funny.
No,
if you're doing it for comedy value, it's just not. It's up the long ladder kind of embarrassment.
It's up long like it was. What was his name? O'Reilly from the TOS. Yeah. It was. I don't know if you've seen
Finnegan. Is it Finnegan? Finnegan from the original series.
Finnegan, that's him.
I'll take my anorak off.
No, you're absolutely. This is the place to wear an anorak. I don't know if you saw Trek Central did an interview with Sven Roygruck.
No, I didn't see it.
Played Fuzz. And he talked, that was the first thing, because Sean from Trek Central was the one who did the interview, and that was the first.
Did he try and string him up?
So it's worthwhile going and looking at it and looking at Sean's face as Sven is talking, because Sven talks about, oh, well, there were all these processes behind it, and like, you know, this is like why we did it and why it was chosen, and these were the people that chose it, and like all the rest of it. And just look on his face, it's just like, I'm not buying this. He was very polite. It's a really good interview. Yeah, worth going and watching. But yeah, his claim is that I mean, he was right in one thing. He got the audition, and he said, like, literally, you get 48 hours notice. You get the sides, you get the script through for the audition. You don't get told anything before then. You don't even know what series.
No, you don't know you don't know what series you're actually auditioning for, especially with something like this, don't you? No, yeah. It's not like, you know, when it's a franchise now, especially you don't know what you're No, don't know what you're doing
You know,
until
nothing of the character or anything. So 48 hours notice, and absolutely, I get that. And yeah, he came in with sort of three different accents and the Irish in inverted
the
commas.
Irish, Irish one. It's not an Irish one, it's an Irish one.
Irish. Yeah. I mean, oh God, it put me in mind of the Alan Partridge
Hmm.
episode where it's like, there's more to Ireland than this.
To
Um,
be sure.
yeah. So yeah, apparently, so his claim is that it was the production team, and you know, this is why it worked. But the accents to one side, which is a really big thing to push to one side, it was really bad, obviously. Why does the conveyance have to be Vulcan? If it's
Yeah.
going to be all this emotional thing, why not just make it human looking?
Yeah. Yeah. All I seem to get in my head, and I can't remember the character's name, but all I thought of is the alien in the later seasons of the Flintstones. You know, the little green alien in his little ship that used
Oh,
to follow Barney and Fred around.
oh, very, very vaguely. I know it was referenced in The Simpsons.
Yeah, but
Once.
that's just what I thought of the Flintstones there with that. I think the concept is quite good, but the execution of that character was awful.
Mm, yeah,
You know
yeah,
the micro creature, and you get the thing there like that, and the jokes about being sizist and everything like that, and the infection stuff. I mean, I get the humor of it, but
yeah.
it was too broad, probably.
Mm. It was. It was like the whole thing that the character was cobbled together very quickly. It
Yeah.
seems like from other characters.
Yeah, but the fact that spoiler alert, he was the bad guy, and he killed Zeph and stuff like that, and it was quite signposted early on. It was
Mm.
very much of a Chekhov's gun thing going on there when he said about he could go into the guy from the Mirror Universe's head and reprogram him, and then the second that stuff was happening with Zeph, said, "Yeah, this is exactly what's happening,"
Yeah,
because they've signposted it.
I say, yeah, I'm impressed with the reference to Chekhov's gun there.
There
Um,
you go.
for any of our viewers who have no idea what we're talking, because a lot of people don't know about Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
Chekhov was a famous playwright, so it's a different Chekhov, who
Yes,
said
it's
that
not Pavel.
if you show a gun in scene one of a play, it has to be fired by scene three.
Yeah, it's got to end up being, it's there for a reason.
Yeah. Maybe in future ones of these, we ought to refer to Chekhov's phaser.
Yeah.
Oh,
Definitely.
dear. All right, so that's the bad stuff out the way. Batshit crazy. I've only got two
Do you
bits for
not
this.
do you not think the whole thing's batshit
I
crazy?
mean, I think the whole thing was bad. But
I think the godsend is batshit crazy because it's a MacGuffin and it doesn't explain how the MacGuffin works.
no, it almost ended up in my bad column because of
Yeah,
that reason.
yeah. I don't say it's bad because it's just a trope essentially, but I think it's batshit that it can do something that big for something being that small.
Yeah.
In normal Star Trek, if the guys from Voyager had actually written the script of this, they would have told you exactly, technically, how it was actually made and what it would do, because they like the tech stuff on that, and there's no technobabble in it to explain. It's some kind of quantum singularity that's gonna, it could say it's something that's in the quantum singularity that ignites the mycelial network. That's gonna
Mhm.
kind of, because Paul Stamets in Discovery was working on mycelial stuff,
Yeah.
and it could have been perversion of his technology that was killing their universe in any case. And
Yeah.
ta-da, there you've got a MacGuffin. That's how the MacGuffin works.
I think they really missed a trick by not having it as the Tox Utat.
Ooh,
from Captain's
Yeah.
Holiday,
Yeah,
because that
that's a
was
deep
a
that's a
similar
deep
device
dive. Yeah.
in that it what was it? It connected the cores of stars,
Mm.
causing them all to explode
Yeah,
within
to cause a
in a
chain
massive
reaction.
region.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they could have had it as the Toxotat. That would have made a link to Next Generation, but there we go.
Very clever, Mr. Jackson.
I
Very
know, right?
clever.
I should be writing for them.
You should. Give us a typewriter, add the two of us together. We'll sort Star Trek out for them, no problem. And
Yeah,
we'll do it cheap as well.
but I mean, to me, the whole thing was just it was too like it was too big. It was too not physically in size, but like the whole it's going to destroy half the galaxy. Too big, you know. It's like, can't it just be like something that'll just destroy a planet? I mean, that's pretty big in itself.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. But I
Star
understand
Destroyer.
understand that it was a doomsday device. You know, if I'm going to die, if I'm going to lose control of the Empire, screw yous, I'm going to blow the whole thing up.
Yeah, I get that, but it could have been like a world destroyer, and like, you know, if any world starts to, you know, starts a rebellion.
Just send a Genesis device in and be done with it.
Yeah, and
But I think the microorganism character idea is batshit crazy.
Nannikins.
The Nannikins, it's
Um,
absolutely batshit crazy. It's difficult to get your head round that it's almost just like virus sized. Um, a good idea, badly executed, but definitely batshit.
Wasn't the craft that he was in kind of? It looked like COVID-19 to me.
Just looks like something from the Jetsons. Every time it's come around, I just hear the Jetsons music. It would have been funny if they called him Elroy or something like that. That would.
Yeah.
Yes, George Jetson.
Nannikins. Yeah. And have you got anything else for the batshit?
No, because we'll be here all night.
No, I've only got the two. One is the garbage scow itself. I mean, from a kind of a single line in TOS, we've now finally got to see a garbage scow,
Yeah,
and it's.
I mean, I did quite like that, and I thought it was quite a funny idea that there was, the power cell in the child's toy was something that
That's my other the Droom toy.
I thought that was I did actually think that was inspired.
I did. It's in my batshit. It's straddled between bad and batshit. The concept of the toy and the way it's used, I think, is fantastic and funny and really good. It's straddled bad because the toy was saying, "We're all going to die."
Yeah,
No, that was just bad writing.
yeah. I mean, to be fair,
Why would a toy say that?
Yeah,
You
I mean
hate children? I mean,
the conceit of that to me actually mirrors a little bit in Star Trek Beyond with the use of the music to be the denouement in that, and where you've got a 20th century music is used to fix something that they need for the plot.
yes.
And this is a similar kind of, not exactly
Yeah.
cop out, but a story idea of something low tech almost, rather
Yeah.
than going technobabble high tech.
Yeah, yeah. This race that we've never heard of, used as a power cell that we've never heard of. And as a scientist, Rachel Garrett knows if she, I don't know, pours a can of Coke on it or whatever.
Yeah, you just need a bag of Mentos and a bottle of Coke, it'll all be fine. You go boom.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly that. So yeah, those were my only two batshit. Was the garbage scout and the Droom toy. Also, how dangerous was that? Like, not just like pouring things on it and it goes boom, but when the head spins round and the hair's whipping about, that'll take some poor child's eye out.
Yeah, I think Santa will have a lot to answer for giving a
He
kid that over
definitely
Christmas.
I mean, and the fact that this toy says we're all going to die, whilst laughing, yeah, I think the Droom hate their children. That's now
Yeah,
canon in my head.
yeah. That's just it doesn't even bear thinking about.
It really, really doesn't. Anyway, that is our good, bad, and batshit. We've talked at great length about this now. Viewers, I really want to hear what you think what was your favorite moment, what was your worst moment, and what do you think was absolutely crazy about this movie? Do put a comment in below. Every comment helps the algorithm and helps us to grow the channel, which is what we really want, as do your likes and your subscriptions. So thank you very much for doing those and for telling everybody about us as well. There we are. My goodness, we got through it, and this is fingers crossed going to be the first of these good band batches that we're going to do, isn't it, Craig?
Yeah, we've got a nice little concept of what we want to move forward with until Strange New Worlds comes back to keep ourselves entertained.
Yes. So keep your eyes peeled. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. You won't want to miss these. We'll see what we can do about getting them into a tight time format.
Oh, you've done longer.
Yeah, we can talk for length, but we're not going to today anymore. So yeah, that's it. Craig, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing thoughts on this. And
Thanks for having me. It's been fun. I could
always.
go and have a lie down in a darkened room now.
Watch some Lower Decks. That's it. All right. Well, you all take care of yourselves. Peace and long life.
Live long and prosper, guys.